Hi, my name is Jamie Lynch, and you are listening to Eating Habits, my podcast about everything restaurants. I will explore the human element of the hospitality business, and I'll talk to the who's who in restaurants, explore their stories, and hear what's on their minds in the ever-changing landscape of the food and beverage industry.
You're listening to Eating Habits. I'm Anthony Marini from The Pass in Charleston, South Carolina.
What's up, Anthony?
How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for joining me.
Finally meeting you.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you. I've heard about you for a long time, and I told you before we started that I'm embarrassed to say I have not had one of your sandwiches yet.
And I said it was your loss.
That's what I hear. That's the rumor on the street.
A little bit.
So, I mean, there's so much to unpack here, but like a tiny 700 square foot sandwich shop in Charleston. How does a professional fine dining culinarian end up in such a place?
Well, it started a little bit back towards the pandemic, the beginning of the pandemic.
Okay.
I was a chef right outside Philadelphia in a restaurant where we were getting quite a bit of press and we were really doing well. And I was about to buy the restaurant from its current owner. And 4 days before, I basically was signing the papers, and 4 days before I went to sign the papers, COVID hit. And I backed out of the deal completely.
Smart move.
And yeah.
Not a great time to be opening a restaurant.
And took a break for, a quick minute and started traveling south. Went to Atlanta to help a few friends of mine out who, the north was closed. So the south was open.
Right.
So I was able to help out some people in the south in Atlanta. And I kept coming to Charleston up on breaks. And I was like, I really like it here. It's like 15 minutes to the beach. It's a great restaurant community. Yeah. Small enough town to be small, large enough town to be large. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I originally was going to find a job. Mm-hmm. And I won't tell you the name of the restaurant.
But it wasn't Church and Union, was
No, it was not Church and Union. But basically, I did a bunch of interviews with a restaurant, and after the third interview, I was told I was supposed to get like a tasting. Uh-huh. And I'm a fairly good judge of, having a conversation, and if it went well, I spoke with the owner, general manager, director of operations. But then after those three conversations, I didn't hear anything, and I'm emailing them, I'm calling them, I'm, what's going on? I don't understand. And on my final call, I got somebody on the phone who was clearly having a bad day at that restaurant group. And they said they figured out when you graduated at CIA, which
they said you're an old timer.
They said I was old.
Oh, you're an old timer.
I went, okay, fuck them. I'll open up a restaurant instead. And that's what I started doing. I started looking for spaces.
Perfect.
I originally looked at a space that is now Vern's. Uh-huh. And at the time, because I was so new here, I didn't want to spend the money and take the chance, especially through COVID.
Right.
I walked away from that deal. And then on the heels of that, I found the little space that I'm in now. And there was something really interesting and very sexy about standing in the middle of that room and saying, I could see the front door and the back door of this room.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I'm going to make sandwiches and figure it out for a year.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I just, opened up a little sandwich shop, and all of the ideas that came, on the menu from me, were just ideas that, I just threw down and let's see what works.
Awesome. Have you always has sandwiches always been something that you are passionate about or enjoy, or is it kind of like, hey, this seems like a low risk, something I can do well with a small staff kind of option, or were you passionate about that going into it?
Well, I'm passionate about food in general.
Yeah.
I am from the land of cheesesteaks, which we do not make cheesesteaks at the Pass.
Whoa. Hold up.
I know.
Why? No hood?
I have no hood. I have a half sheet pan convection oven, one induction burner. I do everything sous vide. And then obviously all of my cold cuts are, brought in from Atlanta, from an Italian purveyor that I use.
How good is your cheesesteak if you were to...
Well, I can make a good cheesesteak. Here's my one comment about cheesesteaks.
Okay. I knew there had to be something.
There are three places that I will go inside the city of Philadelphia and have a cheesesteak.
Only three.
Gino's, D'Alessandro's, Tony Luke's. I will not have a cheesesteak in New Jersey.
Oh.
I will not have a cheesesteak in South Carolina either. And I've had plenty of people go, you've got to go over to this place and you've got to eat this cheesesteak. And I'll be like, no, I don't. I won't eat a cheesesteak outside of the city of Philadelphia. Can I make one? Sure.
Would you ever? Would you make a chili?
No, I wouldn't. Not here.
You're like, why would I do that?
Not here.
Yeah.
I just have. It's kind of like the Holy Grail, and I don't want to, screw with that.
I totally get it, man. I'm a chef. I understand.
But I love cheesesteaks.
We got idiosyncrasies about things.
Yeah, I just have a thing about it. It's weird.
It's something about the Philly air and how it mixes with the sliced meat that creates.
And just the people that you come across, and the fact that you're there at 3 a.m. after going to the clubs and going to restaurants and late at night. And there's something about it.
Right. It's like some people drink champagne.
Sure.
You'll have a cheesesteak when you're.
Well, when I go home, I'll have a cheesesteak, and I will have a cheesesteak when I go home.
Awesome. All right. Sorry to get sidetracked. I knew that this was going to be an interesting thing to touch on.
The thing is that, was this? It's a little bit of both. I think that it was a low risk idea for me. I knew I could put together a good sandwich based on kind of what I know culinarily. It was low risk in the sense that this is the lowest risk I could take in these times.
Yeah.
In COVID.
Yep.
In a new town.
Yeah.
I'm a northerner.
Yeah. How's this going to go?
How's it going to go?
Yeah.
And what's amazing about the pass specifically is we're very Italian. We like Italian stuff and we try to promote that as much as possible. There are so many people, just at the College of Charleston alone, there are so many people that are attending there that are from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Pennsylvania. Yep. And they come in and see me and they go, we can't get this anywhere else. That's and I go, okay, well, that's why I'm here. Yeah. I guess this is why I'm here.
What is now?
Was this my plan? Absolutely not.
Yep.
If I would have taken the space that is now Vern's, it would have been a completely different restaurant.
Right.
And certainly, this had a lot of growing pains. I made a lot of mistakes because I wasn't used to running a sandwich shop where I was 3 feet in front of the customer all day. There was no back. There was no place to hide. There wasn't a kitchen. There wasn't an office.
Right.
So yeah.
So what kind of mistakes? Let's talk about. I mean, honestly,
okay, sure.
Because that's the stuff that like I think is really juicy, right? Is like we can talk about your accolades all day long. You've worked in really great places, but I think the real interesting thing is the hardships that we as restaurant people, as chefs, as operators deal with, and then overcome, right? Because you're in it right now. You guys are popping off.
Mistake number one was you obviously, when you work in what we'll call a normal restaurant for the sake of this conversation.
A full-service restaurant.
Full-service restaurant. You are used to hiring a certain type of person. A cook. You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my mind, I started looking for chefs.
Right.
And the chefs I started looking for were, I have a family now. Maybe I have a wife at home or significant other at home. Maybe I've got kids. I don't want to work until 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I want to work during the day. And I thought, those are the guys I'm going to go for. I hired 6 people. 6 people in 9 weeks were gone because, first of all, they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out how to deal with the daytime. They couldn't figure out how to deal with the idea that there was no hood, that there was no stove, that there was no flat top or grill.
Yeah.
So they were lost. I had a guy cut himself 3 times in 2 days and then blamed me for cutting himself. I had a guy who showed up with a 16-inch pair of tweezers and proceeded to use them in a fucking sandwich shop. And I was like, are you kidding me with that?
It's like, no, we manhandle the pickles in this place. We don't tweeze. We don't tweeze.
You gotta be kidding me with this. I mean, I actually ended up stealing the tweezers. I have them at my home and I just because of lack of time, but I have vowed that I'm going to turn them into a belt buckle.
That's awesome.
But, you were hiring people that you thought you always worked with, and this was just not that environment.
Yeah.
So we ended up kind of scaling back. We started hiring younger people, college students, people who were interested, but, didn't quite have the chops, to be in a, traditional restaurant kitchen.
Right.
And it worked out, eventually it worked out. I have more staff now than I had at the very beginning before it was myself and my business partner. Again, I didn't understand the prep of a sandwich restaurant. That was another mistake. I would prep all night, and then we'd open up 9 o'clock and I'd make sandwiches, and then I'd go, all right, it's 1 o'clock. We're closed.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And that lasted for a couple of weeks before I figured out this is not a good business model. I said, we have to figure something else out.
Yeah.
So, that was a major mistake. The other mistake, which turned out to be super positive. We had a PR company. They shit the bed on our entire campaign, and we eventually parted ways. But before we parted ways, we took over the social media. And our approach with social media was to interact with every single guest. They posted a sandwich online. We thanked them. We, posted it on our Instagram. And we did that for every single person. Somebody posted something, we liked it. If they wanted to know something, we gave them the information. We are so engrossed in people's lives now here in Charleston with, regulars that we have. It's something that is paramount to our business.
Yeah.
I don't want to romanticize this. I put good shit on bread, and that's about it. Okay. However, what I do think that we do that's different is we offer a level of hospitality that I don't think many sandwich shops do. And I'm not speaking bad about any sandwich shops that are here in Charleston or anywhere, but that's paramount to our business model. At the time when we got rid of that PR company, we had 350 followers. We're now up to 20,000 in less than 2 years.
Nice.
We know about births of children. We know about marriages. We know about when somebody travels somewhere. We've had people go to Italy, get stuff in a store in Italy, pack it in their suitcase, bring it back to Charleston, give it to me, and have me make a special with it.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool. That's to be that to be that involved in somebody's life is what's important to me.
Right.
So,
if you think about it, like, you've made it. Right? Like, the goal, at least my goal, I think a lot of chefs' goals has always been to connect with people, right? Through food, to nurture people through food. And if you've created that relationship with your guests and create a model where people are connected to it and feel some sort of connection to it, where they bring you, illegal hot peppers from Italy or whatever, like that's awesome. Like that's really great.
That it is.
So you didn't set out to do sandwiches, but you ended up doing it. Is there a future in this for you? Is this where you're?
I don't know. I don't know.
You?
And we also, and we spoke about this earlier, but I opened up almost 2 years ago in August, and probably about 2 weeks into the restaurant being open, obviously we closed at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
And one night I happened to be driving past the restaurant. It was dark. And I got immediately depressed. And I said,
seeing the lights off?
I said, this doesn't look right.
Like, why are the lights off in that place?
That place should be open at night. And I got the idea that I was going to do a chef's table, a 1 reservation per night table. We were going to do 8 courses. We were going to do it for up to 12 people.
The inner chef was just like,
get out. Yeah, I'm doing sandwiches, but this is not what I really do. So I want to get back to over here. So I started to kind of theorize how I was going to do this. And we were set to open up in October for the chef's tastings. And late in September, I just got a wild hair up my ass. I said, I've been doing this for so long. It's like, it doesn't feel right not to be on Open Table. So I said, I'm going to advertise this on Open Table. And I was naive in the sense that I'm not from here. No one knows me. No one knows who I am. I've been open for 2 months. They don't even know the restaurant's there, to be perfectly honest. I said, I'll do this once a week. This will be fun. This will be interesting.
Yeah.
And
tell yourself whatever you want to tell
within
yourself.
2 weeks of putting it on Open Table, we were sold out for every date in 2021.
Yeah.
I think in 75, if I remember correctly, in 75 days, we did the Chef's Table 56 times, 8 courses for up to 12 people. And we had, some great guests. They were really into it. They loved it. Our last Chef's Table was like late in December of that year. And I went on vacation, a brief vacation. While I was on that vacation, I started looking at Instagram and the Omicron variant had reared its head from COVID, and everybody was closing their restaurants for some period of time. Some people even closed them, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Didn't have festivities then. We're closing for 10 days. We're closing for a weekend. We're closing to give our staff off. And I said, I have a 700 square foot restaurant. I said, I can't have seating in this intimate setting. So we decided to take all the seating out. We were not doing delivery at that time. We opened it up to delivery, and the sandwich restaurant blew up. We stopped doing the chef's tables then, and it was always like every couple of months I would go, well, I'll just wait till Charleston Wine and Food is over, and then I'll start them up again. Or something else would happen. I'd be like, well, I'll just wait till that happens. I have 5 to 10 calls a week.
Yep.
Where they come to me, people come to me and go, you doing the dinners yet? You going to get the dinners going again? And what I've kind of backtracked to is I'm looking for spaces inside Charleston to do actually a, full service restaurant. And my goal is to, kind of maybe not necessarily recreate those dinners, but give people a dining option at night. To do something.
So you're working on that?
Yeah, I'm working on that. Yeah.
Okay. Cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out.
Have you got any spaces in mind?
I've been looking for spaces for 8 months.
Yeah.
It's a challenging market.
It is a challenging market.
This is a challenging market in Charleston.
What are you finding challenging about it? I'm curious. There are spaces available.
Yeah, there are.
There's the historical element to, especially downtown.
Sure.
Where you have a lot of physical limitations, you have historical limitations.
I think you have two different types. In my mind, at least what I've been seeing, you have two different types of properties. You have, the properties where a builder builds something. He says to you, I'll give you this vanilla box. You're like, well, I want to put a hood in there. Well, you put the hood in. You go put the grease trap in. I said, I'm renting this.
Yeah.
And even if I rent this for 10 years, why am I putting this stuff in for you? That's one type of building. And then you have some second generation spaces that, might have been popular 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And, there's a sentimental value to the owner or to, the restaurant. And they overvalue that. And they go, well, we did something great 10 years ago. That's worth, $750,000. It'll be like, no, it's not. You haven't made any money yet,
maybe.
in the last 3 years. So, the challenge is just trying to find that right mix, but I've got my eye on 2 or 3 properties right now that I'm, interested in.
Are you interested in doing it downtown? Is this?
I would like to be in Charleston. I think in terms of the pass, the sandwich shop. I think a lot of people have asked me, well, why don't you come out to Daniel Island? Why don't you come out to Johns Island? Why don't you come to Mount Pleasant? And eventually I would do that. But I think the goal for me would to get a nighttime spot, be able to secure that, and then scale the pass as the sandwich shop in different places. Look, I don't have a recipe book.
Yeah.
I never wrote one. I never looked at the pass as something that I would scale. Right. It was just
this is like I'm going to make a living.
Like I was going to take the 2 years, the left that was on the lease and say, let me give it a shot. That was what it was.
Yeah.
So
you signed a new lease?
I have signed a new lease and really happy about that. And I love the corner. I love that neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a cool neighborhood.
I mean, a lot of walking
Tell
traffic.
everybody where you're at. Exactly. If they don't,
I'm at
you're at
the corner 207 St. Philip Street. We're on the corner of Spring and St. Philip. We're about a block off King. You know, it's an incredible community, the Cannonboro, Elliottboro neighborhood. A lot of Airbnbs. So not only do we get a lot of local traffic, but we have a lot of people who come in from out of town, and you know, a lot of those people from the north. So they appreciate what we're doing.
And they walk in that neighborhood too. It's like it's so close to King Street. It's so close to every people can wander around and so they're out and about.
Absolutely,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Going to your kind of your nighttime restaurant idea. Is this is it because you want to get your hands back at the stove and kind of flex your culinary chops that way, or is it more about having some options?
Well, what do you mean by options?
Like the sandwich shop, you've got limited space.
Sure,
it's tiny.
Sure,
you've got no hood. It's super limited as to what you're able to do. Right. And with, a brick and mortar restaurant with a full kitchen, it opens up options to be able to flex your culinary muscle a little bit.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, the idea for me is to get the second restaurant so that I could open up something different, but also use it as almost a commissary for the daytime restaurant for the pass.
Yeah.
Because we can't do it well. We can't, I can't do fried veal cutlets or chicken cutlets.
Yep.
I can't grill anything. I can't, there's just limitations. So that's always been the plan, to have the second restaurant to be able to, do something a little different at night, but use it as a commissary for during the day.
How do you do it? How do you do the pass in that space?
It's tough. It's really tough.
It's like
our line is super small.
Yeah.
We've packed a lot in. I've used every inch of that space that I can in terms of storage, in terms of what we're able to put out. We also sell beer and wine. So I added a Cruvenet, which everybody seems to love. We sell, retail bottles of beer and wine. How do I do it? You know what? I committed to it. So it's my thing. That's where I think I had the problem with staffing initially, was they didn't know how to react in this place.
Right.
I had to say, well, this is it. I've got to do something with it. I've signed a lease.
It's mine.
I've paid money. I've got to do this now.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I had, I used to be a very big boy, big stomach, and I had sleeve surgery 3 years ago. I can't eat one of my sandwiches. I could never eat one of my sandwiches at the pass. It would kill me.
Because they're huge?
They're huge. They're big. And I couldn't eat a whole sandwich at the pass. But I also wouldn't have been able to work on that line either had I been that big.
Yeah.
We have figured out the way to do things in that space. And, when you had to adapt, you just had to adapt. I mean, my second best-selling sandwich was done on a George Foreman grill. Okay.
Thank you, George.
I bought 6 George Foreman grills since I've started.
You're just burning through. You're keeping him.
Yeah.
You're keeping him in that big house.
That's right.
Burning through this.
And I hide it, and I put a piece of blue tape over top of George Foreman, and I write Carmela on it. And they're like, "Who's Carmela?" I go, "It's not George Foreman." Whatever, that's it. But yeah, my second, the fun,
Chef Carmela.
Yeah, the second best sandwich in our best selling sandwich, I should say, in the pass was called the Cascio Pepe. Basically, an elevated, grilled cheese sandwich.
I'm in. You've got my attention.
I got tired of not having enough table space because of the grill.
Right.
So I had gone through 4 different menu changes with the George Foreman grill. I said, we're going to do without the George Foreman grill for this particular one. So I went and I went on Instagram. You can find this on Instagram. I went on Instagram and I wrote a post, and the post never said he, she, there was nothing, I said, we've lost one of our own. And, we're just deeply shocked and saddened. And, they were there
Had to
from
say
us at the
goodbye.
very beginning. We're saying goodbye. I got over 500 condolence messages.
Wow.
And
the foreman.
And they thought they were talking about somebody. No. Not George, the sandwich.
Oh.
We were talking about the sandwich.
Okay.
That we were going to.
It had to go. It
had to go because of the George Foreman girl.
Can't fit anymore.
One of the people who works at Charleston Wine and Food calls me, and we're talking about something about the festival, which just happened a couple of weeks ago. And she goes, we have the conversation about 15 minutes. And she goes, can I tell you, at the end of the conversation, she says, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. She goes, we saw your post. We made somebody run out and get a condolence card.
Oh.
We filled out a condolence card. And I went home that night and I was in bed. And I just wanted to see if I knew anything about this guy named Pepe, because we said Pepe.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just wanted to see if there was any stuff on Pepe. And I realized you were eulogizing a fucking sandwich. And I said, I want the card. She gave me the card. We framed it. I have a plaque that says Charleston Wine and Foods condolence card.
No way.
Yashio Pepe.
Is it at the restaurant?
It is at the restaurant.
I love it. That's so funny.
And now, you got
to be careful with that social media, man.
Well, there were people who obviously gave condolence messages, but then there were people who thought I was really insensitive. Like, how could you be doing this? Like, talking like that. So I went on Instagram again. I got a fake account with Cascio E. Pepe.
Yeah.
And he has now faked his death and living in Italy.
Nice.
He might come back for a meeting or two in Charleston at some point.
Nice.
I still have a few George Foreman grills left in the garage. Beautiful. And he might come back and visit every once in a while.
So now you're going to get flooded with Foreman grills for Christmas.
That's right.
Yeah, so your front stoop.
I'm an enthusiastic endorser. Yeah. So
that's hilarious. Did you ever imagine when you were a young cook coming up and you're like, I'm assuming that you're like dreaming of like being the best chef in the planet and like cooking your ass off, that you would be talking about having to change your menu because of a George Foreman grill?
No, never. I was, when I first got out of CIA, the thing I wanted the most was I wanted to be an Italian chef, work in an Italian restaurant, have an Italian wife, 2 Italian kids running around, and a dog named Enzo. That's all I ever wanted.
That's it.
As I started to travel, I first went to Phoenix and then Los Angeles and worked in places there. I got to see so many other different types of food. And I ultimately ended up opening 2 restaurants in Birmingham, Alabama. I think that when you're young, you want the world. Right now I'm having I get frustrated a lot, and I show it, but I'm having an incredible amount of fun. And this is very strange to me about, obviously as chefs, we have people who come up to you in a dining room and say, I love your food. This was tasty. I enjoyed this. Mm-hmm. It is mind blowing to me that, and people sit 3 feet away from me while I work. It is mind boggling to me that people walk up to me and go, this is the best sandwich I've ever put in my mouth. I go, you got to get out more. What the hell's wrong with you? Like, seriously, what am I doing here?
What kind of cold cuts you got over there, man?
It's like, there's not like crack on it or anything like that. It's like, I'm putting hopefully putting together a good sandwich, but it's really been amazing to me about the reception of all this.
Yeah.
So no, I never thought anything like this. No.
Yeah. And like, but it goes to show you, right? Like it could be a legitimate cacio de pepe.
Sure.
Or it could be a sandwich, but it's still touching the people, right?
Sure.
Like they're still having a reaction to your food.
Sure.
And if it's good or the moment's good, maybe the ambiance or seeing you prepare it is what's doing it for them. They're getting that food memory regardless.
Well, I think the fact that we are so small and I have 6 bar seats in front of me,
mm-hmm.
They're literally, as far as that computer is to me, that's how close the guests are. They see everything that's happening. So I have to be very clean. I have to be.
Yeah. So I'm a guest and I come and sit down and order some sandwiches. What do I see? Are you are you cursing out the Foreman grill?
No.
Are you you know, you got like finger cots on your hand? Like what's going on in there?
Absolutely not. I think, you know,
it's a nice tidy.
It has to be clean.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they literally can see over what you're doing. They could see my board. They could see everything that I'm producing. If I'm prepping something at any particular moment, I have to make sure like I'm doing it right with pans around, and it's not just like I'm going to chop a whole bunch of vegetables and, you know,
sweep them off to the side.
The trash. They see everything. When they talk to me, you know, I mean, I just want them to feel taken care of. I mean, the first thing anybody hears when they walk in is, "Hey, how are you?" Not only from my staff, but from me. The last thing they hear once they leave is "Thank you and appreciate it. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you." You know, and while they're there, they ask a lot of questions, and sometimes that's good. And when you're busy, sometimes that's not so good.
So how do you know if it's not so good? If I'm the guest and I'm like,
because you got 20 tickets, you know,
you got to put like some sort of marker on there. It's like when the tickets get to here,
right?
More.
I'm better with putting people off than my staff is. My staff feels obligated. Like they're talking to me. I have to respond. I have to talk.
Right. Hospitality says I have to.
Yeah. And I understand that part of it. But like, look, when you're busy, you're busy. Yeah. You got to answer with one word answers, and you can come back to them later. Yeah. But you know, and that's how I handle it. I handle a lot of things with a lot of sarcasm that comes off as a joke, and I try to make it, you know, light and a joke. I also have a kind of self-deprecating way of talking about myself. Like I said, I don't want anybody to have any illusions that I'm doing anything like earth-shattering here. It's like I'm making sandwiches for you, you know, like that's it. You know, because they asked all the chef-related questions, you know.
Right.
Oh, what's your favorite this? And tell me about this, and how do you make that? And, you know, and we answer them best we can. Yeah. Yeah.
How big is the menu? How many items?
I have 13 items on the menu.
Okay.
You know, we have 8-9 sandwiches. I have a tuna crudo on that I've run before. Nice. We have a antipasta platter that, you know, bunch of different cured meats that I do. We do our own house-made giardiniera. You know, anything that I can do in-house, I do. Yeah. My mustard is made in-house. All of our sauces are made in-house. The giardiniera is made in-house. Anything that I try to source as authentically as possible. You know, we get really good Italian meats. I mean, we're not using kind of garbage. Yeah. You know, we get good cheese.
Are you using the same like purveyors that we use, or do you have like specialty Italian market?
No, I use some of them. I use IGF and GFI. You know, I don't use Cisco. I don't use US Foods, and not because I don't, you know, I've never used them before. I certainly have. But, you know,
on the scale too that you guys are doing,
well, the problem is storage for me.
Yeah.
So
you can't bring in.
I've had Cisco walk into me, be like, "We'll give you no minimums," and I go, "I don't really care." I said, because you're still going to give me a case of something.
Yeah.
When I only need a jar. I need this.
I need a jar.
Pretty much. I don't do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Or they have like a 12 case minimum. You're like, well, what do I do with 12 cases of anything?
Yeah. I have no ability to use it. So we use IGF and GFI. I do source a lot of myself privately, you know, source a lot of my stuff privately. You know, you got to go to Depot for the can of this or the, you know,
your
the
specific
jar of that.
Like thing that you like to.
Yeah. But everything that we're using is kind of authentic to what you would find in my part of the world, Philadelphia. You know, we use cherry pepper relish that we source out, and we get the cherry pepper relish that we get up north. Cherry pepper shooters that we, you know, you would really find not a lot of places here. You would find them up there. So we do a lot of that stuff, you know, and the only time that we really had that it kind of came full circle was the Philadelphia Eagles were in the Super Bowl this year.
Hell yeah, they were.
And
how'd that go for you?
Yeah, how'd it go for me? Right, exactly right.
Not about the Super Bowl. I'm saying you obviously celebrated.
We did, and you know, well, okay, so there is a company in Philadelphia that will send you a box of Philadelphia soft pretzels, or they will sell you tasty cakes or Frank soda. These are things that are indicative
synonymous
to Philadelphia.
with,
Right. So I bought 60 pretzels. I put it on Instagram. I said, I got these pretzels for, Super Bowl. Within 10 minutes of that, I started receiving phone calls for the next 3 days that, can I get 50? Can I get 30 of them? Can I get this? Can I get that?
I way under order.
$60. I said 60 pretzels there. I made my partner run up to Columbia that had a Philadelphia soft pretzel factory.
Yeah.
I said, buy 500 pretzels.
Yeah.
She bought 500 pretzels. We sold over 500 pretzels in 38 minutes.
Wow.
To people with Eagles jerseys on, people from Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
And then you talk about cheesesteaks. And like I said, I'll never do a normal one. But we did something for the Super Bowl where we did a red wine braised short rib with house-made cheese whiz, with onions. And we did that on an Amoroso roll. And we sold 150 of those in 2 hours. So, you know.
Not a cheesesteak.
Not a cheesesteak. Not a
cheese steak.
Yeah. Similar.
Steak and cheese.
Yeah. Steak and cheese. Yeah. Pretty much.
That's awesome. Wow. That's great.
I don't know. Well, now
that you survived,
you know what? Now the new business is I should just open up a Philadelphia soft pretzel factory. And,
right.
Maybe I make money that way.
Yeah. But there's still time.
There's still time. Yeah.
That's
my retirement plan, maybe.
Right. What's your favorite sandwich
on the menu? Or in just in general?
In life? Because I understand that maybe there's a sandwich you can't replicate. In your, I think spot, that
I'm
curious what your favorite.
There are two places that come to mind. I did a consulting job many years ago in Columbus, Ohio, and there was a deli there called Katzinger's Deli.
Okay,
and just a Jewish deli that was incredible, and they had all these very specific sandwiches that were made for this place, and it was turkey, prosciutto, Dusseldorf mustard, and scallion cream cheese on like this pumpernickel bread. That
weird.
It checked every box for what you wanted. It was awesome.
And it's not a normal combination.
No, not at all.
That's kind of super interesting.
Yeah.
So that's one of your faves.
That's one of my faves.
Did they toast the bread or anything, or is it just
believe
straight?
So. Yeah. No. It was toasted.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a delicious sandwich. Another place that I think of often, especially when I go home, is a place in the Reading Terminal Market in Philadelphia. It's called Herschel's.
Okay.
Great pastrami, great corned beef. But house cured salmon, on a Bayali. I'm real simple. I just, just give me, spice, fat, things that I really like, a little acid, and I'm good.
How important is the mustard to you?
Oh, I mean, just as important as it. We make our own. We make our own grain mustard. Mustard seed, vinegar, a little bit of sugar.
You like to leave the grains whole, or do you pulse it a little bit?
I pulse half of it, and then I add in. I boil my mustard seed 3 times in vinegar.
Yeah,
boil them, cool it down, boil it.
Do you dump it, or do you just same liquid, bring it up?
Twice in water, once in vinegar.
Yep. And
then I boil it through, and then puree one side, one half of it, and then the other half I leave whole. And people really like it. We cure our own salmon at the restaurant. That's really important to me, and easy. It's like I said, it's what we can do.
Why is that so important to you though? Like with that's amount of space, right? Like, wouldn't it just be easier to buy
get a side of salmon,
to buy a good product? Like why?
Yeah,
because I'm into it and I'm all about it. But I'm curious why you that's your line.
And
right?
my question is why not? Like why? I have the skill to do this. Why can't I do it? And it's a pain sometimes. I probably should. If the people at Coke hear this, they're going to kill me.
We can edit it out.
No, that's okay. I don't care. My walk-in is 2 large Coke coolers. That is it.
Yeah.
That is all I have for refrigeration. I mean, I have some under-counter refrigeration on my line.
Yeah.
But I have 2 large Coke coolers.
Gotcha.
They gave me one to put out, a smaller one to put out in the dining room.
Yeah.
And when they were there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell a lot of drinks at this place, and I want them cold. I believe in cold drinks. I said, you need to send me 2 more boxes. They did. They sent me 2 more boxes, and they're behind doors. And I was like, Coke's never allowed to come in here and see what I have hiding in there, because that's what we have for refrigeration.
Right.
But getting back to your original question, it's like, why not? If I have the skill to be able to do it, I want to do it. Sometimes it becomes a space issue, especially with a Lexan or something like that.
Sure.
But I would feel better doing that than just opening up a package.
Controlling the process.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Do you do anything special with it? Do you have any special cure, or is it just a real simple?
Simple vodka, salt, sugar. I make my own pickling spice.
Yeah.
And we just add that, and 3 days in. Rinse off, dry off, and slice, and people love it.
Yeah, the thing that I like about house cured salmon over the stuff you buy is that you can prevent that like really firm, like kind of like over cured and packaged texture. Mm-hmm. When they cryovac it, it kind of like condenses everything and it gets dense.
Well, oddly enough, I like cured salmon over smoked salmon, because I think most smoked salmon is like overly smoked or chemically smoked somehow.
It's fish bacon.
Yeah. And it's like, it just doesn't, I like tasting fish.
Yeah.
I like tasting the actual fish. Mm-hmm. I don't feel I'm doing that when I'm tasting like the side of packed, flat of smoked salmon.
Right. The board of salmon, it comes on the board. The pass. Expansion. You touched on it. Is that something that you're interested in doing, or is it more of a thing where if the opportunity presents itself and you can put a couple passes out there, it makes sense? Or is this something kind of part of your business plan right now?
Well, I think what I said before is the way I would prefer to do it is like I said, I had no plan when I opened up the pass. So in the respect of putting recipes together and, how, put this much meat on, put this tomato, these 2 slices of tomato, this green. I didn't do any of that. It was like, I got an idea for a sandwich. This is the idea. This is the way you make it. Everybody make it like this.
Yep.
I do 90% of the flavor stuff in there,
So you're doing most of the prep work and most of the
absolutely
batch prep and all that.
Sure. I think getting a second restaurant where I could do something at night, but use it as commissary, I could then take and expand my offerings at the pass
without having to be there. You could have that control, that flavor control kind of situation going on.
And then once that happens, then I would be more comfortable with scaling the pass.
Right.
Saying like, okay, we already know like the Italian boy sandwich is going to, is our mainstay. That would be on there. The LT Americano, we know that would be on there. Our turkey sandwich. Mm-hmm. Then it would be a situation where I'm going to put 12 sandwiches down. This is what we totally can do with something with a hood, something with, cooked material. And then be able to scale it with recipes and being able to do it correctly.
Yeah.
That would be my plan going forward.
Right.
I think.
When you do your new restaurant concept, is it Italian? Are you going to do an Italian restaurant? Is this, I'm sensing a theme here. Or are there other cuisines that you're interested in playing?
No. I mean, like I said, when I was young, all I wanted was Italian.
Yeah.
And then I went to Phoenix and I worked with Christopher Gross in Phoenix, and I learned about obviously all these different peppers and cactus and things I never touched or cooked with. And it was a French restaurant. Then I went out and I opened up I was one of the opening chefs at the Standard Hotel in West Hollywood.
Nice.
So I saw California cuisine and all that there was, and went to this deep South with Alabama and, learn that. And my restaurants in Alabama were not Southern. They were food that I would have done up in my hometown. Mm-hmm. But now I've kind of gravitated back towards Italian because it's been so well received here.
Yeah.
I look
there's
at
a deficit of I think really good Italian that I know of.
Well, I think here's what I will say. First of all, of the Italian restaurants that are in Charleston, and I look at La Farfalle, I look at Indaco, at Melfi's. I think they're all great restaurants. I love going in them. I like eating them. I think in terms of, and I don't want to pigeonhole myself and say it would be a red sauce joint, because it wouldn't be a red sauce joint.
Right.
But I think that the ingredients that those restaurants use kind of border towards the more modern than the more traditional.
Right.
Not to say they're not doing good stuff. They are. I think what people are craving here is a little bit more of the traditional side.
Yeah. Like a sauce joint type.
Yeah. You know, a good salt and boca, a good Milanese, a good cashew e pepe, you know, good, you know, a good lasagna, you know, the normal kind of tossed salad that, you know, comes on a lot of different Italian tables.
So let's talk about lasagna.
Okay.
We were me and my culinary director were talking about lasagna earlier today.
Okay.
And we're going to be prepping some lasagnas tomorrow for Ophelia's little pizza joint that we're doing in Nashville.
Okay.
It's opening hopefully next
I'm
month.
headed out to Nashville in a couple of weeks.
Oh, come see us.
Yeah.
Come see. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see you out there. What do you got going on in Nashville?
I'm just visiting Nashville. Yeah, visiting some people in Nashville.
Oh, cool. Well, if you have any time, I'd love to come to the restaurant.
Okay.
And I'd show you where Ophelia's is going to be all that.
Sure.
Anyway, so we're talking about we have to have a couple dishes on the menu that aren't pizza.
Sure.
Right? Because it's a pizza joint. Straight up. We have no hood.
Right.
No hood. We've got
Not even for the oven?
The pizza oven has a built-in thing that, so it's like 4 pizzas. So we're very limited. So that's why I was interested in talking. Like, we're limited as to how we can approach the menu. And so we were talking today about how we would build our sample lasagnas. What's your go-to? I'm curious. Like if you were to build a lasagna today for family gathering tomorrow, how would you put it together?
Beef, veal, and pork meatballs. Kind of seared and then braised in sauce for 4 to 6 hours. Roast pork in that sauce as well. I cook pork shoulder. I do not sear that pork shoulder. I cook it raw.
You just throw it in there.
Yeah, throw it in there.
Chunks.
And it actually comes out a lot more shredded, which is what you want for, rather than
so the searing kind of like holds it
you
together.
will get more chunky pieces.
Yeah.
But if you just put it in, you'll get it very shredded.
Yeah.
And sausage. I would do, good pork, rope sausage.
Are you a spicy sausage guy? Or you like
I like
spicy?
I like anything with a
little kick
decent kick to it. Sure. All 3 of those meats, and then they're completely chopped, and I use the sauce that I use from the braising.
What's your sauce? It's a tomato. Is it a tomato? It's
tomato based, no sugar.
Yeah.
It's red wine and red wine vinegar. It's dried first of all, it's onions and garlic, fresh onions and garlic. San Marzano tomatoes whole that are just crushed by hand.
Have to be San Marzanos, or are you?
I like them.
You like them?
I like them.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious if you're like a hard.
But oddly enough, and I don't think they sell it here. There is a brand of tomato that's a puree, Tutto Rosso, that they have up north. That I really love. And if I'm going fast and I've got to, I don't want to spend the time, I'll use that puree. So it's really an incredible pureed tomato. Basically garlic and onions, the tomato, add red wine, add some red wine vinegar. That cuts down the acid quite a bit. Dried oregano, dried basil, little fennel pollen.
You like the dry. Is there a reason you go with dry and not fresh?
That's what my grandmother did.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hear you. It's nostalgia.
I don't use fresh in sauce. I don't think you really get, when you're finishing it and you want to throw some leaves of basil in it, when you're putting it onto the plate, that's a different story. But I don't think there's any difference to putting fresh oregano or, not sage, but whole fennel in there.
Or something.
So I like the dried, and you know, that's what we're used to. You know, one of my vinaigrettes, we have a white balsamic vinaigrette that we use at the restaurant, and they see me making it all the time because I make it right in front of them, and they go, "Oh, you're using dried?" I'd be like, "Yeah, this is garlic, dried basil, dried oregano." I was like, "This is in every grandmother's pantry up north.
Man.
This is just the way it is." So the vinegars, the wine, the dried herbs, and then essentially it's bring to a boil and let it simmer for 6 hours. And you get a really rich, and especially if you add the meat in, you know, while you're doing that. And I add all the cooking fat in with the meat. And it just,
you can't lose that stuff. That's like, you've worked hard to develop that.
Absolutely.
Throw that down the drain.
Fat is flavor. Yeah, I sound like a, you know, bad culinary school instructor. But no, I mean, that's the sauce.
Do you have a building technique that you're like, or are you just kind of like, you get in there and you just kind of feel it out, or do you have a system?
I don't think it's a building technique in the sense of, because, you know how you have to build it. I mean, you know, it's pasta, you know, fresh pasta sheets, you know, your meat, maybe shredded, maybe some whole, your ricotta cheese, another sheet, tomato, do bechamel, you know, there's, you know.
We're thinking about leaving the ricotta out because we feel like it dries it out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that
feel like
you could still use it, but maybe not use as much. You should try them both side by side.
Yeah, we got some experiments we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to try.
Are you using fresh pasta or dried pasta?
We're going to do both.
Okay.
We're going to do both just to see, like, because he tested one that had like a no bake pot, which is, don't ever do that.
Right.
That was a mistake. But you got to try something.
Sure.
So we tried it. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is not good." So we're gonna try fresh pasta sheets and the store bought like dry ones and boil them, because that's what I had when I was a kid.
With dried pasta sheets, you don't have to weigh it down. With fresh pasta sheets, you do weigh it down. So if I make it with fresh pasta sheets,
give it a little.
I do parchment, and then I put a couple of pans on it or something, and then I cool it overnight in the refrigerator, and then I cut it, you know, and it comes out really awesome.
What's your reheating preference from the next day? Do you like it?
I kind of braise it in half sauce. So like, you know, you have a pan,
put a little
sauce in there, let it warm slowly in with that, and
kind of steam a little bit with the sauce as it.
Sometimes, I mean, if you were doing it for a restaurant, you know, you'd like to sear it, you know,
get a little crispy edges.
Love the crispy edges.
Yeah, we may not have much of a choice. We have one oven.
You have an oven.
We have a pizza.
It's a wood burning?
No, it's an electric.
Oh, it's an electric.
It's an electric pizza oven.
Oh,
it's called like. You. Yeah.
That sounds horrid.
Well, how do you think all these restaurants in New York do it? They don't have those little like slice shops. They don't got a wood burning coal oven.
What possessed you to do this?
That's a good question. Well, so great question.
Is it part of something else? Is it part of something else? Or you just said we're going to open something with an electric oven?
You're the first person to have ever asked me that. Caught me off guard. Well, no, honestly, going into it, we weren't going to do a full service restaurant in this space. We were going to do a kind of a cocktail lounge, like a night spot, because we have a restaurant 2 doors down, like a full service Church and Union. And so this was going to be kind of our complement. We like having a kind of a nightlife spot with craft cocktail, loungy vibe. Okay. But the market in Nashville is expensive, and we didn't want to open just a space where we can only really count on revenue from, like, you know, after 8 o'clock to whenever, right? Like, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so, so we wanted to add a legitimate food element. We were going to do some food in there, whether it was.
Does it share any part of the kitchen with Church and Union? Like, do you have like a back alley that we have back into a prep kitchen?
We have a sidewalk, which we'll probably be using. I imagine.
Well,
we'll see how it goes.
I could give you a name of somebody who, and have you ever been to Philadelphia?
No.
Okay, so.
Oh yeah, I've been through Philly, but I've never spent any time there.
So towns are comprised of a lot of things called row homes.
Okay.
Row homes.
Yeah.
Kind of like similar to brownstones, but tighter.
Yeah.
Brownstones of New York, but like tighter.
Yeah.
There's a chef who owns a restaurant in Philadelphia, and I know his wife. I went to grade school with his wife. and who's the pastry chef of the same restaurant. And so during COVID, this guy builds a wood burning brick oven inside a kind of a backyard, all cement backyard.
Yeah.
That
it's just like a patio.
I think this space that we're sitting in is bigger than the backyard. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a tight alley to get down, real tight alley. You couldn't drive down it. You had to walk. And he was making wood burning pizzas
out of a patio in the back
patio during COVID.
Nice.
And I mean, they were great pizzas. I mean,
bet,
he's really
he was doing
guy.
them legit. He was doing it in the space.
Table out, 2 tables, people shaping pies and just throwing them in this oven.
Well, so that was kind of the big question, right? Is like, if we want to do, we started off just wanting to do small bites out of there, like snacks to go with the cocktails. And then, we realized like, okay, we're not really putting everything we can into this concept, and we really got to give it a solid go. And so we started thinking about like, if we were to do a really small limited restaurant at the level that we expect to operate in, which is, we have a high bar for ourselves, as I'm sure you do. Mm-hmm. And so we really started thinking about the space limitations. And I was like, man, if we do pizza, like you can do pizza in a small, like I've seen it done millions of times. I'm from New York. We're all from New York.
Right.
So we were like, hell yeah, pizza, but we'll do it, our way. And that's when we started going down the rabbit hole of like, how do we cook it with no hood? Like, what do you do? And apparently there's really great technology out there, man. Like these pizza ovens are supposed to be pretty badass. I have not fired it up yet. I'm looking forward to getting out to Nashville and actually
I'd like to be there when that happens, just to see too. I don't want to jinx you. Listen, obviously, you've put a lot of thought into it, and hey,
I'm going to bring you.
Everything is everything's an experiment. Yeah. Everything we do is a risk. Everything we do is, something we're passionate about. So, at the end of the day, if you can make something work, hell, if I could put another oven or something that did pizza in my place, I'd do it in 5 seconds.
Yeah. It's going to work. Yeah. I'll tell you, like the best thing for me about this whole concept was learning the dough.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you can ask my fiance, for the past 8 months, like we've had something bubbling either in our fridge, on our counter. Like I've just constantly got dough under my fingernails, just learning about it. 'Cause I know how to make dough, I know how to make bread, I know how to do all these things, but now it's actually part of my life. So, and I've learned a lot about how it reacts and how you do. Yeah. And so it's going to be an experiment. We don't know. Pizzas are going to be tasty though.
And then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
At the end of it, like I said,
it's going to be a tasty pizza.
Just put something good,
Yeah.
Just put something good out and you're fine.
That's all you got to do.
Totally fine.
Awesome. Anything else you want to touch on or talk about?
I don't think so.
Cool, man. Well, I'm really excited for all your success over there. I can't wait to come and try.
Yeah, you do have to come and try.
I am going to come. Definitely. I'm going to come. What are your hours of operation?
Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 4.
How do you stay? How's that viable?
I don't work Wednesday through Sunday. I work Monday through Sunday.
Gotcha. Doing all the prep, getting all the stuff together.
Pretty much. It's. People have asked me, would you open up an additional day? I probably would.
Do you need that time to prep? Like, is there, I guess you could do it if you.
Let's put it this way. At one point last year, we're probably doing 50% more business than we were doing this time last year.
Yeah. Awesome.
I was going to Restaurant Depot for incidentals once a week.
Uh-huh.
I'm now going 4 to 5 times a week now.
Is it because of space and stuff? Like you just can't.
It's not just about space. It's about the fact that, we need the product. We're selling through all of our product.
Yeah.
I went through 32 pounds of mortadella in 2 days. I went through 28 pounds of turkey in 2.5 days.
Is your slicer just getting a workout? Like what?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I bought it at a buy-low here that was going out of business for $500. I had somebody look at it and he said, all right, replace the wheel. You're good. And we've been going with it ever since.
Nice.
Some of the equipment that we have from the restaurant, it was when I bought it from the previous restaurant that was there. We didn't put much more into it. We had tables made by a guy who was a kind of a general manager of a hotel working through COVID out of his garage. We've tried to put a lot of love into that space. We've tried to put a lot into that space. It's amazing. I've got room. I'm cleared for 12 people.
Yeah.
15 people total when you count the staff. There's so many times where, you know, the place is just filled with people that they're just waiting for sandwiches. So,
Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah, it's fun and it's a good problem to have, but also, you know, you obviously want to move up and you want to, you know, kind of figure out how to harness this in a way where more people can, you know, have it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
We never want to make people unhappy. So, you know, and we haven't. So thankfully, knock on wood.
Everything I hear, man, everybody loves it. And I am the fool for not being there. So we'll come check it out for sure. And,
Cool.
Man, I'm so happy for you, and I'm glad I've got to meet you and hear your story.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.